God, I'm just going to recap for last week so that we all could be on the same page for those who were not here. But in 2 Corinthians, starting in chapter 6, starting with verse number 1, if you don't have your Bibles, they'll have it on the screen behind me. But 2 Corinthians chapter 6, starting with verse 1, it says, "Working together with him, we strongly urge you not to receive God's grace in vain by turning away from sound doctrine and his merciful kindness." Verse 2 says, "For he says, at the acceptable time," which is the time of grace, "I listened to you, and I helped you on the day of salvation." It says, "Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." So we're talking about don't waste grace, and I asked you a few questions, and I'm just going to recap those questions for you this morning. Last week I asked you, what are you doing? Right? I challenge you, what are we doing? See, we are all in love with the saving grace. And we know how great the saving grace is. And I did my best. I couldn't sing, so I talked the words of Amazing Grace last week. And we talked about how, about the saving grace and everything that entails. We've all been changed by grace. We've been shaped by grace. We've all experienced it. We've been strengthened by grace. We've all experienced grace in some type of capacity. But when I ask you about what are you doing, the reason why I ask that is because what are you doing with the working grace in your life? It's one thing to be saved by grace. And it's good to be saved and set apart, and knowing that God has transformed your life. But it's another thing to actually be operating with that grace that you have that's already been deposited to you. So I ask you, what are you doing? We talked a little bit in Exodus chapter 33:15. It said when Moses said, "Lord, if your presence does not go with us, then do not send us from here." And how important it is that when we go forward and when we're doing things, that we have to realize that his presence has to always be our primary focus. Every time I get up, every time I'm on this platform, every time I open my eyes, God, okay, Lord, I need you for everything in my life. Everything I go, whether it's going to work, or whether it's to be a good husband, or be a good father, or to be a good pastor, or continue just to be my life and live my life as a good person, I have to have the presence of God with me. Because I can only run so long and so fast in my own strength before I get found out. And it's possible to run out there and you're doing a good thing, only to realize that you're doing it in your own strength and realize that you don't have the stamina to keep up. And that's what we want to talk about today, about making sure that we are operating in grace and realizing that we cannot do anything. We cannot do anything. We cannot do anything without his presence going with us. Moses said that if you don't go, I'm not going. And that's the thing is that can we have that same type of statement in our life where we say, God, if you're not going with me, then I'm not going to go. We talked about the different definitions of hope last week and about how hope is a noun, but how hope is also a verb. And I asked y'all a really good question. I said, are you a noun or are you a verb? There's a big difference. Is your Christian just a title that describes you, or is it a verb that shows us who you are? See, being a Christian does not mean perfection, but being a Christian should mean that there's always progression in your life. There's no expectation for you to be perfect. But if you're a believer, if you're serving God, then there's an expectation for you to be progressing in life. We serve a progressive God, and so when I say, are you a noun or are you a verb, are you moving forward? What are you doing? And so we talked about that, and then it also says in 2 Corinthians 9:8, it says, "And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed." Every good deed. That means you have to do something. A deed is something that is done, something that is performed, or something that is accomplished. You don't get grace just to sit. He's saying, I'm giving you this grace for you to get up off your butt and go ahead and do something with it. To further my name in the kingdom, to be a blessing so that people can be glorified by what I've done in your life. I'm giving you the grace so that you can be an extension of me, that you can be my hands and my feet. That's what I'm giving you the grace to do. Not the grace to sit down and so that people can say, well, you look like a Christian, like a noun. But I gave you the grace to be a verb. I want people to see me in your life. Right? So is your grace? Is your grace a noun or a verb? We read in Ephesians chapter 2 verse 8, it says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. It is not from yourself, it is a gift of God. Verse 9 says, not by works so that no one can boast. Verse 10 says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. So there's a plan and assignment that we need to walk into that's already been mapped out for us. And so after I ask you, what are you doing? I ask you another important question, which is, where are you going? I challenge you saying that we need to be really intentional in the things that we do in life. This is not the time or the age to be playing games. It's time to be really, really intentional. It's time to be really all in with the things of God. We're in a society now that's doing its best to divide us. There's so much hostility and hatred and all these things out there. And we as believers need to know where we're going. And we need to be intentional about our actions and our conversations. Because we ultimately will be held accountable. But I said, where are you going? We talk about vision and how vision gives direction. See, what you see is what you're able to attain. And what you focus on determines what comes into your life. You can never raise above your vision. That's the hardest thing for people to understand. It's for you to believe something for them, but they ain't got to believe it for themselves. If you don't see yourself getting out of debt, you'll never get out of debt. If you don't see yourself owning a house, you will never own a house. If you don't see yourself not living in dysfunction, you will always live in dysfunction. Because what you see, this is the gate. And the thing is, if you want to rise above, you have to start seeing yourself at a higher level the same way that God sees you. Yeah. You have to ask yourself, where am I going? Yeah. I know I preached a few months about, why are we going to keep on circling this mountain? It's time to go northward. And many times in our life, we don't know where we're going because our vision has been stuck on whatever obstacle is in front of us. Not knowing that we've been extended the grace necessary for us to be able to move forward. Grace. So where are you going? And what are you seeing? It's funny that we can look at the same thing but see two totally different things. Some people see obstacles. Some people see opportunities. Some people see it being a dead end. Some people say, well, this is an opportunity for God to prove His word and what He says. See, no matter what it looks like, you have to hold fast to the vision and you have to trust the process, even when it gets shaky. The third question I asked you all last week as well was, what are you accomplishing? What are you accomplishing? Why bring you out just for you to sit there? Amen. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't He just bring us up just to do absolutely nothing with our life? See, we empower ourselves and empower other people by the word of our testimony. Yeah. He said, talk about being equipped for the work of the ministry. Being equipped for the work of the ministry. That's a verb for the work of the ministry. Yeah. To do something. Right? See, there's so many ways that we waste grace as Christians. Whenever we do not avail ourselves to the fullness of God's provision, we waste grace. When we're not willing to grow through what we go through, we waste grace in our life. Amen. We talked about last week about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, about them going with the experience that they had and how they stood up for what they believed in, and they were thrown into the fiery furnace, and they went through that whole process, and the king says, didn't I only throw 3 in there? But why do I see 4? And why does the 4th look like the Son of God? And I ask you a simple question. Can you stand the heat? Can you stand the heat? Because there's times where we need that grace in our life. And Daniel chapter 3, verse 27, it says, the satraps and the prefects, the governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that they had fire and not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their head singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. I said the Lord loves to deliver you in the situation that you're in so that He can get the glory. He's like, I needed you to go through the heat so that way and be a good soldier so that I could be glorified through this situation in my life, so that I could use your life as a testimony. He's saying the thing is, He delivered them out in front of all the people who threw them in there. God, why do you want to? Why would you do that? He said, because I need them to see that it didn't kill you. I needed to see them that you didn't lose. I needed to see that. I needed them to even know that they can't even smell it on you. Matthew 7 verse 25 says, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Let this be the year Just like what I talked about in the fiery furnace. Let this be the year that you decree and you declare that God, thank you that I do not look like what I've been through. They were looking at him saying, I don't understand. Their hair is not singed. I don't understand how you could go through that and your robe is not singed. How can you go through all that heat and you don't even smell like smoke?